Good morning, everybody, and welcome to The Pursuit. Today, I'm joined by a special guest, Brian Brand, and he is the director of Beach Brawl. Is that your official title?
Owner, director. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, owner and director of Beach Brawl. Thanks for joining me today.
Yeah, no problem. Excited to be here.
Good. So we have been to Beach Brawl only the last 2 years.
Okay.
But first of all, I want to start off by just saying thank you for putting on such an awesome event. I do quite a lot of events at the gym, and over the last 10 years of owning a gym. And, it's sometimes it's very far and few between that you get to hear thank you from people, like you put in all
It
this
is.
work and it's like, everybody has a great time and like they post all their photos and they
Mhm.
tag all their friends. But I just want to say to you, like, over the past 2 years, going to your competition and watching it and just seeing the amount of care and attention that's put into it that maybe goes unseen from people that put on events. I just want to say from us to you, thank you for everything that you do. So
Appreciate that so much. Thank you. Yeah, we definitely take pride in what we do, and we hope I see is it when they go to the event. But yeah, from hearing that, man, appreciate you so much. Definitely heartfelt.
And so this is was it the 13th year, 2025?
2025 was the 14th year.
The
Yep. So we're coming
14th year.
up on our 15th year anniversary next year. Yep.
How does that feel?
It's been going on. It started in 2012. My friend Amanda and I came into the picture in 2021. And then, kind of things just went crazy from there. We sort of
And were you
a
sorry,
little bit.
go ahead.
No, yeah, go ahead.
Were you a gym owner before that, or are you a gym owner currently?
I am not currently. I was. I was a member at Average Joe's CrossFit here in Navarre, Florida. That gym was actually going to close. The founders had sold it to somebody else, and that person found that that wasn't really in their interest anymore to own it. So he was going to close it, and Amanda and I were like, we have too much of a community here, too many friends. Let's see what we can do about keeping the doors open. So that's how we became a gym owner. We bought Average Joe's CrossFit in December of 2019. Owned and operated that business up until 2 years ago. We had a couple of our coaches come on board, or basically we approached them and saying, hey, we know our season of life is sort of changing right now. What do you guys think about continuing this thing on? And they did. So, so that gym is now still thriving today. I go there 4 or 5 times a week. Definitely a great community. But yeah, so gym ownership for 4 or 5 years, somewhere in there. And then in 2021, right after COVID, the opportunity came along to get involved with the Pensacola Beach Brawl.
That's all. And then, so it started in 2012.
It started in 2012. Yeah.
And was it always in that location where it is now?
Yeah, with one exception. 2020 during the COVID years, it was at the Blue Water Stadium. Mm-hmm.
Cool. And then, how did the opportunity for you guys come for you to get involved?
Well, the gentleman who owned it actually went to my gym, the gym I owned at the time, and I basically caught word, through a mutual partner that they were looking to sell the business. Their season of life had changed, so to speak, as well. And so I jumped on the opportunity. I remember the first time that I went to the event, it was like, I competed there several times prior to, to purchasing it. But the first time I walked out onto the, into the area, the athlete area, spectator area and all that, I just remember the hair on my arm standing up. I'm like, this is wild. You know what I mean? Yeah. Of course, I was 1 year maybe or so into CrossFit at that point in my life. Had never seen anything like it, but I knew that there was definitely something there. So yeah, fast forward, 2020 happens, things go down, opportunity, arises. Got on the phone with a buddy of mine, said, "Hey, you think we can make this thing happen?" He's like, "Absolutely." So that was when my wife and I decided, "Hey, we're going to jump in and get this thing, back on track and rocking and rolling." Everybody had a tough year in 2020. Things were down.
Yeah. Yeah, I was going to say that guy the original owner took it from 2012 up to 2020, 2020-ish.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And so you can see, I mean, I can see right from owning a gym before the pandemic, right? Like,
Right.
he's obviously put a lot of time and energy into building this thing. And then in 2020, that's when a lot of businesses changed hands because people are like, I don't know if I have the energy to rebuild this, right? Like when you've spent at that point, he spent 8 years building this thing, into something. And then to see in 2020, somebody probably told him, you can't do it this year. And you know what I mean? It's at that point, you come in and like, for you, it's brand new, right? And you're like, oh, I know what we can do here. But for the person that's put 8 years in, they're like, I don't know if I can restart this thing and build it back up, right?
It definitely required a breath of fresh air, so to speak. And to be quite honest with you, I had never even ran or organized any sort of event up to the 2021 Fall Beach Brawl. Not even a for public entry competition in my own gym.
So he basically tricked you into it, right?
No, there was no tricking me into it. It was definitely it was definitely a want to on our part. We knew that the Beach Brawl was definitely special, and we knew that we could do something really good with it. So,
but I mean, in terms of like you kind of being naive to what it looks like, right? Like, it's cool and it's good, you can do it, but it's just you don't know what the 8 years for this guy, right? Yeah. So
no, and to bring that to a point, I definitely paid a lot of tuition, throughout that process. Thankfully there was some really good people in support positions at that time that stayed on with me and helped me get through my first one. And it was definitely, they were put to the test. You know what I mean? Because I didn't know anything. You know what I mean? And I had to learn it on the fly, and it changed me as a human being. I'll tell you that. But what is
the one memory that you have from the first one that you would that will always stay with you? That's like, oh wow, I didn't expect this. Or
honestly, like I was so busy running, like physically running back and forth to put out fires.
Yeah,
that was my biggest thing. Like this has to change. Like no, people cannot physically survive this if this is the operation. Mm-hmm. Like it was just way too physically tasking. And that's all I recall. Of course, there was a lot of chaos and a lot of, didn't see that coming or whatever, those moments that you experience. But I was able, like I said, I was able to just absorb it all and figure out what we needed to do moving forward to make it, more seamless, more controlled, things like that. So that's been our focus from day one was, planning, experiencing the plan, and then refining the plan. But yeah, to the one point, just the chaos, like the physically running back and forth. The next year we had radios. Everybody was on communications. No more running. No more, putting out fires that way. So
yeah, what are the major differences that you feel like coming off of Beach Brawl just finished?
Mm-hmm.
Is it 4 years you've been doing it now?
Yep.
Well, comparing to that first year, how does that? Yeah, 5 years.
The experience compared to, I mean, the first time we went out, it was pure chaos for us. We did not know what our day looked like. We were leaning on people that, had operated the event in the past. Of course, we didn't know what to expect really in full detail until we experienced it. Now we have an organized team that everybody's, they own their parts. They know what we're doing. There's no more stress. I mean, there's stresses, right? There's problems. But there isn't that, oh my God, what are we going to do situation? We have a plan for pretty much everything at this point. And so when you have a plan and need to deviate, it's so much easier to do so if there was an original structure in place to start with. So comparatively from 2021 to 2025, ideally you'd want to say, hey, I didn't have a plan before. Now we do have a plan. Things are so much smoother.
Yeah. And how do you feel at the end of the weekend? Are you still like, is it still just as exhausted? Is it like a, are you on for 3 days straight, 4 days straight, or even more than that even? Or is it?
Yeah, even more than that. There's a ramp up, so to speak, prior to the event that happens about 20 to 24 days prior to the event where it just starts escalating. And that's everything from, athletes needing attention to volunteers needing attention to, our staff needing attention, making sure all the vendors and everybody are taken care of. I mean, it's just like an escalation from about 3 weeks out. And then Sunday night, 6 p.m., it all just kind of just drops off, you know what I mean? And then just stops like, okay, so we got through the event, now it's time to pack it up and go home. This year, I was sitting there thinking, okay, we're going to podium at 6 o'clock, which is a little bit later than what we normally do. I know that we've got to get a massive event basically back up and put away tonight. And at the end of the night, I think it was like 11 o'clock. I posted a picture of where the beach brawl had just previously, taken place. And it was just an empty, dark parking lot. And I'm like, I don't know. It kind of hits you a little bit how surreal it is.
Yeah, it's crazy.
How all that planning and stuff comes together and then just like a flash in the pan, the weekend's over,
Yeah, we were there. Like me and my friend stayed Monday and Tuesday and just hung out at the beach. And to walk past that parking lot the next day and just see like what you're able to create at Beach Brawl that then just completely vanishes and then just a blacktop parking lot it's pretty insane, right? Because the festival, the party atmosphere, how many people was it that were competing at the last one?
1592.
Yeah, and then they all bring a partner, some
Yep.
kids, some
Yeah.
dogs.
Yeah,
So,
we don't charge entry or anything like that, but we guesstimate about 5,000 souls on site per day.
Yeah, just 5,000 people, all fit, healthy, like positive, and just to see that parking lot just vibing, right? It's insane. To then the next day you walk past and there's nothing there but a few parked cars, especially it's like a Monday. So and it's not even like a peak season at the beach. So it just it's empty, and it's like, wow, you get to really feel the power of Beach Brawl when you see that contrast,
Yeah, the creation of the experience of the the community, putting all that together and then having it there for people as they arrive, like the big arrival moment, people video it like if you watch on Instagram, like they document their journey to the Beach Brawl.
Yeah.
And then to have that go through, the entire weekend, their experience, and then just Sunday night, Monday morning, it's just gone. It's like it really emphasizes how important the setup is, the community, the event itself, the festival experience, how important that is to people. And so kind of leaning into that a little bit, like that's our big focus. We want to make sure that we're creating the best possible experience for everybody. And I think largely, we hit our marks on that. I think we do a really good job, showing care and concern. Not only for the people that are competing, but the people that are there just, spectating and watching. We call it the Beach Brawl family for a reason. We want everybody who comes into the Beach Brawl, whether you're competing or spectating or volunteering, we want you to feel like you're family here. We want you to have a good time. It's a very free flowing, very, very fun, upbeat vibe when you're there. But we want you to enjoy that experience. And so that's really what our focus is.
Yeah, which is a tough balance, right? Because, people are competing hard. People want to do their best. But I think
intense.
It's intense, the passionate. Yeah, but I think somehow there's a way that it's even down to the judges, right? Because and the volunteers, that's kind of the most important thing is that you can tell they're happy and they're giving off that atmosphere,
Yeah. They want to be there.
They want to be there, yeah. And they're having a good time too. And that is what makes everybody else relax, I think, right? Whereas if it was just super intense, super serious judges that, were stone cold, just there to judge the event. That would be where it would lose its atmosphere. Because like some people there are literally going for to PR their handstand walk, or to like,
right.
you know what I mean? Some of the weights, even like they don't even know if they can lift it. But I saw judges coaching people. You know what I mean? Like it's just a different.
A lot of them are coaches.
Really
a lot of them are, regular L1, L2, L3 coaches. They're affiliate owners. They're our community.
Yeah, they care about the people more than they care about the results. You know what I mean? You can feel that in the atmosphere. Tell me about the growth of the competition over the past few years. Because I mean, this year to me, compared to last year, it sounded like you had like a wait list. People would begging for tickets on Instagram. You know what I mean? Like it was pretty nuts.
Yeah, that was a little rough. We did expand the event this year. We would typically run just under 1,300 athletes in years past. Last year, we decided to take our operation, and this might not sound like a crazy deal, but we took our operation from lanes per floor to 12. Well, that adds a whole lot more, people. We were able to bump up the individual registration volume to 384 persons. And then the team registration to 1,152, I think it was, with that 2-lane addition. This year we went with that same format. We went with that 12-lane format, but we added an additional heat on both sides. So, I mean, it extended our day slightly. We've always prided ourselves on sort of being, like the 8 to 5 in and out, like, you had a great time, but, enough's enough, and it kind of mean it in that Florida heat in the summer.
Yeah.
But we wanted to make sure that we were delivering the best possible product. And so we sort of tested it last year, went ahead and expanded this year, brought in 300 plus more athletes. And I think everything went really, really well. The growth over the years, though, consistently has been, positive. I think people are seeing, what we're doing and the operation that we run, kind of like the word's getting out, so to speak. We care about what the venue looks like. We care about what the floor looks like. We care about every single detail of, aesthetics. And then we also care about what the athlete experience is. Like if we ask you to be somewhere to start your heat, say at 8:30 or at 9:21 or whatever that time is that we give you, like, we don't corral athletes, but we expect you to be there and ready to rock and roll, because we will be ready to run. We're not going to be late. We're not going to be, confusing everyone. And we've sort of grown this reputation of having this free-flowing sort of melancholy approach to competition, with a level of professionalism, if you will, in terms of delivery. So everybody kind of enjoys that. Like, you don't have to go warm up an hour before your event, get corralled for 30 minutes, and then, get walked over to it. You just show up. Like, you show up to your floor, you rock and roll,
Yeah.
If you got any questions about where you're supposed to be, just let us know. You know what I mean?
And I think the most you were potentially behind this year was like 5 minutes,
Yeah, we did have some issues with
but like that's not normal for a competition with that many people. It's usually like 2 hours behind, or like it didn't start till 10 o'clock, or you know what I mean? Like, just the
Saturday
level
morning, right before.
like you said, people want to hang out with their friends, and you notice the warm-up area by the middle of the day, nobody's warming up. Most people do a couple of jumping jacks and then show up to their heat. You know what I mean? So what are we corralling people for?
Organizationally, I understand it. You know what I mean? Like, if you want to meet your parameters, but we just take a different approach to it. So I mean, I think having that, that free flowing kind of a, vibe definitely attracts people. We don't do like an AOQ, we don't do corralling, we don't do a lot of the stuff that these big comps do, but yet we are arguably one of the largest events in the United States.
That's cool. So, how does it feel when you say that? Like, is that?
It's sort of an imposter syndrome still kind of effect. Really don't believe it, but looking at the data, it's true. So that just means I think we're doing our job right. I mean, we're doing what we need to do to make sure that the athletes are enjoying themselves, because they come back year after year. I mean,
Right.
some of them 10, 11, 12 years now. And so I think that's like the real litmus test. You know what I mean? The real marker of success is, are you creating and providing the best possible service and experience?
Well, yeah. How do you, because I mean, when you look at CrossFit, for example, like the open registration and stuff last year was so down. And then for you to have one of your biggest years yet, it just shows like a need for these outside events where people get to go and have an experience, right,
Mhm.
with their friends and with their teammates. Is that what you're noticing? Like, because if you looked at markers of CrossFit, you might get worried about where it is. But from my experience of being at your competition, there was nothing to worry about.
And I did look at those markers. I did look at those data points with the open, but I know what's going on locally in our affiliates. I know how strong the community is. While I was concerned about the overall participation last year, I didn't feel that sort of, pullback from the competition space locally. You know what I mean? Everybody was ready to get after it. Everybody wanted to train for the events and, spend time with their communities, represent their communities, number one. So we didn't see that, here in the affiliates. And I do like to travel a little bit to get around to some of the other states and stuff. I mean, we have a really good relationship with CrossFit Francos over in Mandeville, Louisiana. That entire team over there has been like, I mean, honestly, like family. We talk about family quite a bit, but their competition scene over there is alive and healthy. Those athletes want to compete. I think about Crooked Letter CrossFit. They're over in Mississippi, and their competition scene, it's just wild. The Pound, they brought 60 something athletes this year. Just the representation from each community. I mean, even locally here at Mako Athletics and my gym at Average Joe's, it's healthy. And so we weren't concerned. We knew that we would have a good event. We didn't know that it was going to be the largest.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't expect that. So we just put the offering on the table and people picked it up. And yeah, when we went to competition, we had 211 people still waiting to get a spot.
Wow.
So that was a blessing. And also too, it was like, okay, well, how do we manage ourselves to make sure that 211 people that didn't get to compete, get to compete here?
Yeah.
And so that's kind of our next step too,
So that's your next challenge, huh?
Yeah, we want to responsibly manage the growth. We don't want to dilute the product that we provide.
Yeah.
So we're kind of looking at that. We're looking at what can we do, but also, there's got to be a realistic expectation, internally. We can't just say, hey, we're going to run, 10 hours instead of 8, or we're going to add, this much more equipment to the, this many more lanes. You know what I mean? Because when you do that, I mean, all that stuff boils down to not only time, but dollars and cents, and it's like, you got to watch that, kind of as a business owner, you got to make sure you're making the right decisions, to honestly protect the product, to protect the service, so that's something that we never want to do. We never want to degrade what it is that we're doing or lose the community vibe that we have by just, going after ticket sales, so.
Yeah. Having a wait list is never a bad thing, right? Like having that demand is way better than not having that wait list, So how do you balance the like desire of not necessarily, but like the elite side of things with the scaled community fun side of things? Because, like it's kind of, as the director, I would think it's kind of like you could get drawn into like the sexiness of the elite division with like the Instagram followers that people have and all this stuff. But the beauty of Beach Brawl for me, what I've noticed is nobody really cares what's happening on the elite stages. Everybody just goes to watch their friends, right? And like there could be some of the best athletes in the world over here, but if my group of friends are competing over here, I'm over here watching my friends. You know what I mean? And like,
yeah,
everybody's there to be in their own little ecosystem. You know what I mean?
And their friends and family are watching them as well with that same enthusiasm.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying, right? The sexiness and the allureness of having a big name athlete out there. What does that mean to the Beach Brawl? Welcome to the Beach Brawl family.
Cool.
And we would say that to the same, the same 4 girls that are on the scaled female team, to the same 4 guys, that are competing RX or intermediate. One thing that you'll never hear is that somebody got treated differently or poorly or positively one way or the other just because of their their status and in fitness. Do we applaud the elite athletes for the workouts and the feats that they can complete and the times that we give them? Absolutely. It is an amazing thing to watch.
Mm-hmm.
But we also make sure that we take the time to applaud everybody else, our masters athletes, our age groups, our teens, everybody that's involved.
Well, that's what I noticed about your content is like you celebrate everybody, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it could be tempting as the director that wants to grow it to be like, well, we should just focus on these guys that are crushing it. But that would not be what I would assume is what's grown it to what it's become right now. Where
it's not our values to just be, representing brands, in a way or, in a division in a way that doesn't also represent the rest of the community.
Mm-hmm.
The reason we started doing this was for the community.
Mm-hmm.
We wanted to make sure that experience was there, that those opportunities to create memories were there. And we haven't lost sight of that. So that's going to continue to be our focus, building the Beach Brawl family, and make sure that we're delivering a good experience for everybody. So, but yeah, I get what you're saying. It'd be really cool to have, some games athletes, which we do. We often have games level athletes, at the event, whether it be team or individual. We've had a lot of big names come through the Beach Brawl, and I feel like they got a good experience. I feel like they were there. People got to meet them, shake their hands, talk to them, hear their experiences, which is good for the community. I think people like to see the big dogs eat. You know what I mean?
Right.
But it's not the sole focus of the event. But yeah, it could be an attractive lever to pull for sure.
Yeah, I was just thinking it might be. Have you had moments where you're like, oh, let me not get distracted by that and remember like how many other people are coming? You know what I mean? Because like what I noticed is like all the other divisions fill up first, right? And the only one available left is still the elite, like a week out, right?
Sure.
And so it's funny that like me and my team, we did the RX men's division,
Okay.
Like we were going against there's some CrossFit games athletes in our division,
Mm-hmm.
And like me and my team, we finished 18 out of 18 teams. And we were talking, and we were the proudest we've ever been of some of the things we did in the RX division, and like that's what it's about for us and our community, So it's like it's cool. Just people PR'd, people just had a great experience, and like that's what it's very special to go there and do that. So
yeah, specifically on the team side, we don't have an elite team program. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So those folks are competing with everyone else in the RX division. And let me tell you, there's some people out there that give those elites a run for their money.
It was funny just to be next to them on some of them events. Like, oh, they've finished.
It's fun to watch. It's fun to watch. I think about like last spring, Jason Grubb and his team came down and competed.
Mm-hmm.
And they did an amazing job, obviously. But we had boys from Louisiana over there that just wanted to see what they could do against the champ, and so it was like, okay, we actually had a team drop out that was in the lane right next to Grubb's team. And he was like, I heard they dropped out. Can we move over like to the next heat? You know what I mean? And I was like, you really want that? And they're like, yeah. And so, we moved them on over, of course I went and asked Jason first. I mean, hey man, I got a team that really wants to give you guys some competition. What do you think? And he was like, bring it. Let's go. Let's have some fun. You know what I mean? And it was good.
That's the fun. Yeah. That's what like the gym I started at in like 2009, 10, 11, like that's what it was about. Like that's what every competition felt like, was just like looking around and having fun competing against each other, So
the never quit, always push attitude of CrossFitters is wild.
Yeah.
I mean,
really cool.
You'll never find a more driven group of people.
Yeah.
I promise you that. Yeah.
So that many people come in, You talked about it before. You have like a 20-day ramp up or something like that.
Yeah.
How many emails and questions do you get in that?
Oh my gosh. You know, we're looking at right now part of our standards of practice this year. We're writing processes on who's going to be managing what communications. Brother, let me tell you something. When I go to the venue 3 or 4 days prior to the start of the competition, I'm no longer on my email. And the day I walked onto that venue, I think it was Tuesday morning, I still had 49 unanswered requests for athlete change updates. And I'm like, there's no way that I can physically do this myself. You know, it's gotten way too crazy. But yeah, to talk about the emails, the phone calls, the Instagram messages, the Facebook Messenger, you know, the volunteer group messages, it's overwhelming. I mean, there's no way that one person could do this. You know, last year, I think I did a pretty good job being a solo hands-on. This year, I realized this is not where we're at anymore. We brought in an event director, competition director, volunteer coordinator, operations manager. It's time to let these people who have been volunteering for so many years, that know the ins and outs of this thing, that have been with me, to start kind of being empowered and embracing their roles a little bit. And otherwise, you know, we're going to miss some markers that we feel are important, which are communication, number one. So that's something that we have been. I mean, Monday morning, I came right into my office and started writing everything that was in my head. Like, hey, let's get it all down on paper. Let's start directing some of these communications to certain people to make sure that everybody gets taken care of and everybody gets the answers that they're looking for. So,
yeah, I've had a gym, like I said, for 10 years, and the questions are the thing that, you know, like, I just can't imagine having that many CrossFit athletes sending questions.
There are some where, like, you read it and you go, is this person messing with me right now? Or is this, like, you know, and then there are some that are like, oh, I didn't even really think about that.
Yeah.
You know, thank you for bringing that up.
Questions and stuff about the programming and the judges and stuff like that. Like, I just can't imagine. Because, I mean, I know everybody wants to do their best and have a good time. And, like, you know, we had a judge, for example, like, we got no rep on, like, not crossing a rope or something. And, like, some of my teammates were like, what the hell? And I was like, hey, the judge, do you think that they care what our score is? You know what I mean? Like, just for a second, like, this person volunteering their time to count our reps. And like,
they care about, did you do the workout right? Did you do?
Go say thank you and let's go. You know, like, it's so funny.
It's tough though. You know, what you're hinting to, that relationship, you know, navigating that is difficult between, you know, the volunteer judge and, you know, and the athlete. You know, the athlete's extremely passionate about what they did not do in some cases. And they deliver their remarks with a level of intensity that may not match the volunteer judges. You know what I mean? And sometimes there's like some misunderstanding there, and we get that. But I think by and large, the people that are there in your lane, that are judging your movement, that are counting your repetitions, they're there, you know, from a good place, and they really want to do their best. Do they make mistakes? Yeah, you know, they're human. But honestly, like, if the best way is to talk about what happened, make sure it doesn't happen again, you know, so quickly. You know, our head judges do a really good job of, you know, identifying issues and talking to the lane judges, like, immediately to make sure that they're corrected. That's the reason why, you know, we're a little bit different than some events. We run 2 head judges per floor, not just one head judge for the entirety of the event. And the reason we do that is to kind of split the workload, you know what I mean? So one judge takes 6 lanes, the other takes 6 lanes. And that way we can keep a tighter view on what's going on, you know, and making sure that everybody's getting largely the same experience, you know. But that's a difficult thing to do. It's definitely tough.
But I mean, that's part of being in a competition, is adjusting to your judge and adjusting to your, you know what I mean? Like, that's why we run the competition, right? If we just said the fittest athlete, we know who they are already. No, the X factors are like things that happen on the fly.
Right.
And stuff like that. So, how is your growth, I suppose? Because you sound very stoic when you're answering that question about, like, just the amount of feedback, we'll call it, that you get from a weekend. Like, how have you managed to not be like, forget this, I'm not doing this competition anymore? Or like, how do you balance that, you know?
The feedback is great, right? But we always want to make sure, again, that we're doing the best possible job that we can do, but we can't fix things that we don't know about.
Mm-hmm.
We can't view the event through everybody's eyes.
Yeah.
We only see it through our own. So to hear feedback, and have it well communicated is always a benefit to us as an organization. I mean, just being completely transparent. We do miss some things, you know what I mean? We don't see them happening. Again, there's, 48 lanes running at any given time, 8 hours a day.
Yeah.
I mean, you think about team day on Sunday. In 17 minutes of every single day, there's 192 athletes that have competed for 8.5 hours straight. So yeah, we don't see everything that happens. We rely on the community to come back to us and say, hey, this was my experience. This is what happened. You know what I mean? And dropping that knowledge on us, like, hey, that was what happened, to that person. Well, if there's something in there that we can take away from that and learn and change in our processes, like, we're going to do that. We are going to apply that. That is not wasted breath.
You kind of filter it by what is feedback and what is just someone complaining.
Criticism versus feedback. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. And that's where you've grown over the past few years. Is it like, first, would you have taken everything in and kind of taken it personal and like, or have you always been good at that?
Year one, year two, we would release workouts and like 5 people wouldn't like them. And I would take that to like, I would lose sleep over it. But then I realized, hey, I started looking up, are these people even registered? These people that are, hitting us up on the Instagram and, Facebook and stuff like that. And a lot of times they weren't. And so I'm like, why am I paying attention to this? I know that we've tested this. I know that we've gone through this workout. I know our processes are tight. Why am I paying attention to this? But I would lose sleep on it. Like I would think, oh my God, those 5 people didn't like it. Well, then I have to remember that at that point, there were 1,200 other people that did. And I'm like, okay, like, let's start to take some balance here. Like, let's take a balanced approach to how we're accepting or taking in, criticism or feedback and what we're applying. Are we applying criticism from people who aren't even involved, like are worried about that? Or are we taking, literal feedback from an athlete, and changing the way we're doing things? So that's just kind of like the process or the mode that you have to take when there's that many people involved. We kind of have to dissect it a little bit and take the feelings out of it.
Well, and like understanding, I suppose, like we love complaining about the workouts, right?
Yeah.
Like that's part of the experience. So like if all the workouts were perfect, what would we have to talk about, right? Like it would be like we relish ripping workouts apart. Like there's whole podcasts online about every workout in the CrossFit Games or or whatever it is, just tearing it apart. So like if you took every one of them personal, which I imagine you did at first, because I have for 5 years of my 10 years of running a business, and then eventually you're like, okay, who's the feedback from? What is it for? What does that person contribute to this?
I mean, honestly, what's their goal in their comment? Is it genuinely to make the event better because they care, or is it just to get it off their chest?
Yeah.
So you kind of gotta learn to separate the two and take the good and leave the rest on the table.
We're coming up on 40 minutes. I don't want to take up your whole day, but just to close this podcast that I talk with business owners, I've noticed that I learn more from the failures than I do from the successes in the business. Is there one that like over the last 4 years or even before when you were running the gyms and things like that, that have really set you up for success now, where you're like, that was one of the hardest moments, but from that, I can tell that like, this is the way we're going to go forever, or this is the catalyst to our success?
Yeah, there's not really one moment or instance that stands out to me. It's a collection of moments. And for me, it has been really boiled down to like, what am I prepared to do about it? You know what I mean? And then when I make that statement, I mean, you have this large scale event happening. There are going to be variables. There's going to be things that happen, and people will get flustered and go, What do we do? What do we do? Well, what are you prepared to do about it? Being the one guy that's supposed to have all the answers. So my focus has always been always thinking things through and always being prepared in a way to manage those situations. And I think that contributes to the general success of the event, because everybody knows that if, shit hits the fan, so to speak, they can come talk to me and we'll get it figured out.
And does that come from like a mindset shift? Like, were you very reactive at first with things like that? Or?
Extremely reactive instead of proactive at first. Now, proactive is the only way to be. You have to have foresight. You have to plan. And then the second part of that is, is empowering the people in the positions that we have them in. Making sure that number one, I trust them.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? That they know what's going on and that they're going to make the best possible decision, even if I'm not directly involved with it.
And it sounds like 2026 is going to be the year of you trying to empower as many people as possible, right? So
already on the way.
Already on the way. That's awesome. Nice.
Yep.
Cool. Well, we're already collecting our teams for the spring. We're really excited. And I
think it's going to be a good one. I wrote some nasty workouts. I hope you hate them or some of them.
Yeah. I hope we can like tear them apart and talk shit about them, right? Like that's part of the experience. So
yeah, they have been written and reviewed and are currently in testing. Cool. So we do have some fun stuff coming up, some fast-paced interaction exchanges, a lot of good stuff going on. So I think when you guys see them, you're going to be like, yeah.
Nice. Yeah. And it was really hard to find anything about you online and stuff like that. You've done a really good job of like staying behind the scenes and pushing Beach Brawl. Like most people don't do that. Like most people, it's like, who the leader is. So I think you're in such a good position to empower other people too. So that's really cool to see.
That's by design. I'm how do you say it? I don't want to sound kind of stupid, but my job is to be of service to everybody, not to take the glory. You know what I mean? So when I look at things, like I don't want to be the one guy that gets all the thanks for everything. I want the team to be that, I want the community to be that. And so I think that's just a personality thing for me. Again, kind of going back to what I said earlier, I spent a lot of years sort of in imposter syndrome, like, hey, I'm not good enough to do this, or, I'm not the guy that's supposed to be putting on this big competition. I've gotten over that. I've got a level of confidence now, after doing this for several years, but my approach to it has not changed. It's not about me. This event is not about one person. Mm-hmm. It's about everybody. It's about the community. It's about the people that make it happen. And so that will always be our directive in terms of, that. So, you do see a lot of competition owners that, it's all about me. I'm the one person on the camera. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I'm telling my story and, doing my thing. And, that's not what we're about. We're about the community. We're here for the community.
Well, what a way to finish. Thank you for sharing that with us. And for anybody else that's struggling with imposter syndrome, like you said, like when you first started this, you were an imposter, right? Like
100%.
And over the last 5 years, you've become the guy that, for me, is running one of the best competitions I've ever been to. So
thank you.
I can't wait to do it again next year. And I'm sure all our members are excited to do it with us. So we'll see you at the beach.
Yes, sir.
If you're in Atlanta, hopefully I see you before that. Like, come on in and say hi. And
for sure.
If you travel much up here, but I
would love to come in and say, hey.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you, Brian. Really appreciate your time.
Yep. Thank you, sir. Appreciate your time.